everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about working with positive numbers and negative numbers. So on a number line, there are two types of numbers. There are positive numbers and there are negative numbers. So first we're going to talk about the positive numbers. So positive numbers on a number line come to the right of 0. So on a number line, we have 0 in the middle, and then we have our positive numbers to the right side. And our positive numbers are basically just our counting numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and on and on and on and on. Now, each type of number has a sign. So for positive numbers, the positive number sign is a plus sign. But the really cool thing with positive numbers is even if you don't put the plus sign, like see if we just leave this 2 like this without putting the plus, that would still mean it's a positive number. So a positive number, and the abbreviation for positive is a plus sign and a VE. So positive numbers can be with a plus 1. I'm just using 1 as an example, or it can just be 1. Positive numbers can be either of those. Now, that's pretty easy. Now let's talk about the negative numbers. So negative numbers are a little more complicated. So negative numbers come on the left side on the number line after 0. So they come on this side. So negative numbers, as you can see, are basically just the same positive numbers. See, there's a 1 here, there's a 1 here, 2 here, 2 here, 3 here, 3 here, 4 here, 4 here, and it keeps on going the same way. Except the only difference with negative numbers is that there is a negative sign. And the abbreviation for negative is a minus and a VE. So a negative number has a minus sign. So if you want to write any negative number at all, you can't write it just like this. You're going to have a minus sign before it. Then you're going to want to write the number. And again, I'm using 1 as an example. So negative numbers always have to have a negative sign before it, which is a minus sign. So all of these numbers, these combined numbers with negative numbers and positive numbers, these are all called integers. So all of this, all together, this is called integers. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start with a basic question. So what if we have a question like 2 minus 3? So how would we do this? So I'm going to use a number line to help me solve this question. So I'm just going to draw a number line right here, and I'm going to label it. So 0's in the middle. Then we have our positive numbers to our right side. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have our negative numbers to our positive numbers to our right side, negative numbers to our left side. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. So first, let's look at the first part of the question. So the first part says 2 minus 3. So we're going to have to start at 2. And this is our 2, so we're going to start at 2. Then we go back 3. We minus 3. So 1, 2, 3. If we go back 3, we end up on negative 1. So our answer is going to be negative 1. Okay, so now let's work on a little bit more harder question. So the next question we're going to do is we're going to have minus 2, so a negative 2 minus 3. So we're going to work this out on a number line again. So I'm going to draw a number line, and I'm just going to label it really quickly. Okay, so now that I labeled it, we're going to start actually doing the question. So first, it has a negative 2 that we're going to start with. So we're going to try to find negative 2 on the number line. So we found the negative 2. So we're going to start right here. And which means to go back 3. So we're going to go 3 back. So 1, 2, 3. And we land on -5. And that is going to be our answer. So our answer is -5. Okay, so now we're going to mix it up a little bit more. And we're going to do the question -2 plus 3. So I'm just going to draw a number line here and label it. Okay, so now we're actually going to work it out. So it says to first start at -2. So here's -2. And we're going to add 3, which means to go forward 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And we end up on 1. And it's a positive 1. So we don't really need to put the sign, and we can just put 1, but you can put the sign if you want to. And I'm going to do that. And that would be your answer. Okay, so now we're going to work on an even harder question. So say we have a question like -2, and I'm going to put parentheses around it just to emphasize that it's a negative number, minus a -3. So this looks really confusing. Okay, so now what would we do? So one thing you're gonna really need to remember is that there is a formula, and you're gonna need to remember this every single time you're doing math. So this is gonna sound really crazy and really confusing, so listen closely. So I'm gonna just draw a box here. Okay, so if you have a negative sign and a negative right here, like we have here, a negative, side by side, you can make it into a positive. Kind of like addition. So a negative plus a negative equals a positive. If we have a positive plus a positive, this also equals a positive. And if we have a negative and a positive, this is going to equal a negative. So what this means is, for example, we have a negative sign here and a negative sign here. What would we do to solve it out? So this is basically like addition. So if you say like 2 plus 2 is 4, this is basically like that. So negative plus negative is positive. Positive and positive is a positive. Remember it. So we're going to work this out. So according to this box here, a minus and a minus, a negative and a negative, and it has to be side by side. If there's like a number in here, like if we have a 2 in here or something, it's not going to work like that. It has to be side by side. So a negative and a negative is equal to a positive. Now we're going to bring the rest of the numbers down. So we have a -2. So bring it down right here. And we solved this out. So we're going to cross that out. And we're going to bring the 3 down. So now it is -2 plus 3. And now it's a lot easier to solve out. We can just draw a number line and we just label it. And now we find -2 because that's what we're starting out with. So we have -2 right here. Now we add 3 because that's the answer. We add 3, 1, 2, 3, and we end on 1. So the answer is going to be 1. And we're gonna work on a few more problems, just to help you practice it. Okay, so let's work on a few more questions. Say we have a question like 24, and it's a positive, 24, minus positive 3. We're going to work that one out. So I just drew the box here with all the formulas. So if we look at the box, we see that a negative and a positive equals a negative. So we're just going to work that out. So we have a negative here, a positive here, and the box says that if there's a negative and a positive, it equals a negative. So this is going to be a negative. And since we're done with that, we're going to cross that out. and bring down the other numbers. So now we have 24 and 3. So we have 24 minus 3, and 24 minus 3 equals 21. And obviously we don't need a number line for that. And that would be our answer. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to work on a little bit harder question, and I'm going to be explaining a new concept here. So it might seem really confusing, but just stay with me here. So what if we have a question like, let's say, negative 54 plus negative 12. What if we have that question? So our first step is to simplify the signs. So if we look over here, we have a positive and a negative. So we're going to go back to our box, and we see that a negative and a positive is equal to a negative. So we're going to take these, and we're going to turn it to a negative according to the box. And we're just going to cross out these signs that we worked with, because we're done working with them. And then we're going to bring the rest of the numbers down. So we have a negative 54 and we have a negative 12. Okay, so the new concept I want to show you in this part of the video is that sometimes you can't just draw number lines. They take a lot of time to do and label them, and you need a lot of space. Like, see, if we were drawing a number line, we would have to go all the way from 0 all the way down to 54, and that just takes up a lot of space, and that's not really necessary. So one thing we can do, and the trick I'm about to show you is going to be really helpful. So we know that a negative and a negative is a positive, right? So we're going to take this negative and this negative, and we know that it's a positive, right? But we are not going to turn it into a positive because there's numbers in between, right? We're just going to say that it is a positive. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take that positive, and this positive sign means addition, right? So we're just going to add 54 and 12. And if we added 54 with 12, we get 66, okay? So our answer is 66. But hold on a minute. What sign are we going to put on it? So the sign you would put is the sign of the greater number. So which number is greater? Negative 4 or 12? We're just going to forget about the signs. Don't worry about the signs. Just look at the numbers. 54 is greater. So we're going to put the sign that 54 has. And 54 has a negative sign. So we're going to put a negative sign to the number. And this one would be our answer. And just to show you that this actually works, we're going to just search up the answer of the question. So we have a negative 54 and plus parentheses negative 12 parentheses, and we get the same answer. We get the answer of negative 66. So this means that that answer is actually correct. Okay, so now let's work on another question. So let's say we have a question like negative 16 minus negative 25. Okay, so first of all, our first priority is to simplify the signs that are beside each other. So if we look at the box, it says that a negative and a negative equals a positive. So we're going to turn these two signs to a positive, and we're going to cross these out because we already worked with them, and we're going to bring the next numbers down. So we have a negative 16 here and a 25 here. So using what we just learned, we know that a negative and a positive, according to the box, is equal to a negative. So we're just going to keep in mind that these two numbers are negative, right? These two numbers equal a negative. And since it equals a negative, we're going to subtract. And we're going to subtract the bigger number from the smaller number, like how you would do normal subtracting in your elementary grades. So 25 minus 16 subtracting how we would do normally with the bigger number from the smaller number with the smaller number. So 15, this becomes 1, and we get 9. So our answer is going to be 9. But we still need to figure out the signs. So first, let's look at the numbers. So we have without the signs. Just don't worry about the signs, and we're just going to look at these two numbers. So is 16 bigger or is 25 bigger? 25 is bigger, right? And 25 has a positive sign, so we're going to put the sign of the bigger number. So the answer is going to be a positive 9. But remember that if it's a positive number, you don't need to have a sign. So you can just leave it like that, and this would still be your answer. So your answer is going to be 9. Okay, so now let's work on another question. So say we have a question like negative 36 minus 24. And as you can see, we don't have any simplifying to do because there aren't any two signs together. So we can just work it out like how we were doing before. So we see that a negative and a negative, the negative before the 36 and the negative before the 24, those two negatives, they equal a positive according to the box. So we're going to make it a positive, and remember, we're just going to keep it in mind. So now, since it's a positive, we're going to add them together, and because positive means to add, and we would eventually get 60. So our answer is going to be 60, but we still have to do the sign, and the greater number is 36. So we have 24 and 36, and 36 is greater than 24. And the 36 has a negative sign, a minus sign, so we're going to put that sign for the 60. And that is going to be our answer. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And comment down below what videos you guys want to see next, and any suggestions you have for my channel, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye!